fishing. People, when you're in the mood, let's go fishing. Well, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian Sport Fishing, brought to you in part by Ford Trucks, built Ford tough. Lucky Strike, producers of quality fishing tackle and landing nets since 1929. Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Canadian Power and Sail Squadrons, volunteers teaching safe boating.
Let's go fishing whenever you're in the mood. Let's go fishing, baby, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. You wanna grab your hat, man, and get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Oh, good one. Oh, Terry.
Yeah.
Smacked it.
Yeah, I just whacked it. I saw you set the hook.
I saw him come up. I mean, this is what's neat about fishing on these shallower flats.
That
You
water's so clear, too.
Yes. I'll let you do the honors. Watch yourself on the hooks of the crankbait. They're sharp.
Always nervous when you're flipping crankbaits.
I've got the pliers here. Yeah, nice and easy.
That's a nice largemouth.
That's very
A
light.
little bit bigger than the other ones.
Yeah, well, I've lost a couple that I think were around the 2.5, 3 pound range. Yeah, like I said, there's a whole school of them here, Terry. So
Yeah,
I think
got some good bite mark on its side.
probably
At one
from
point,
a pike, or
Yeah.
who knows, maybe even a walleye.
There's so many fish in this one little area. It could be from anything.
Yes, I agree.
There we go for another day.
Now what we're doing, because these fish are pretty shallow here, Terry is using the tail dancer and he's bumping it right along the bottom. I'm using more of a stop and go. Just as soon as I hit a weed or I hit the bottom, I let my lure come back up. To do that, it's better to use a balsa wood lure, and our lures are both balsa wood. And what's neat about this kind of fishing is that you can actually see the fish come up because it's so shallow. I'm guessing it's only like 3 feet deep, Terry.
Yeah, it's really shallow in here, Italo.
So this is like twitching a crankbait. Terry, you the man.
A little shallower water this time, maybe
Yeah.
5 or 6 feet.
Yeah. These smaller bass are so prolific now in the Bay of Quinte. You know, we were talking earlier about the zebra mussels moving in. That fish is about 1.5 pounds, probably about 13 inches long, very aggressive. So they provide a lot of fun in between getting some of the larger fish.
That's a real healthy looking bass, too.
Yeah, but what's happened here, because the zebra mussels, the water's a lot clearer, and the weeds have grown up, and the bass have just moved in on them. It used to be about 20 years ago, you'd get very few largemouth in the Bay of Quinte. But today, sometimes they're a nuisance when you're trying to catch walleye, kind of like this morning. We got one walleye, and that's the 3rd largemouth.
Yeah.
But we don't mind, right?
Bass are a lot of fun, Italo. You can catch them all day and you'd never be upset.
I caught this one that took off on me, and I had to play it for about 5-10 minutes and landed it, took a few pictures. I was kind of fishing by myself, so I had to yell to the guy that was downstream to come and witness it, and I sent it in. Well, a lot of people don't go after those fish, you know. I mean, I see these guys walking up and down the stream, and they're fishing for hours, and they don't catch anything. I think, well, that's okay. You know, I'm not gonna waste my time if I can't catch a fish. So I switch over to the suckers, and they can give you a good fight.
You know what, Terry? This is fun, getting these smaller largemouth.
Yeah.
Now notice the big ones jump off, right?
Yeah.
Small ones we can keep on. He's
That
trying to
can't be more
jump.
than 3 or 4 casts since the last one.
The way they behave here in the bay, they definitely school up. Much more than like in the Kawartha Lakes, you know, where you get one fish in the pads or
Yeah.
one spinner baiting in one area, one another. Now there are bigger fish mixed in here. The cast just before that, I had about a 2.5 pounder that threw the hook when it got airborne. Bass like doing that.
That's the fun thing about bass. They jump unlike the walleye and stay down.
So now, most people wouldn't use crankbaits for largemouth, right? They'd use plastic worms, spinner baits, flipping jigs.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay, go.
We were at Deep River, Ontario, in the Ottawa River, and we were at Kayla Lodge. We went out fishing. We were in 27 feet of water. I caught a smallmouth bass on a worm. He jumped about 4 feet in the air.
That's fantastic. What kind of bird do you have?
A parrot. I guess you can hear him, huh?
Good hit.
Another nice hit.
Yeah, now that's on the, oh look, there's, you know what, cast over, there's about 3 largemouth swimming behind this one.
Okay,
Terry,
nice.
quick. Cast just about 5 feet
Okay.
past where that fish was a second ago, right out there.
Yeah,
There was about 2 or 3 largemouth.
Run right back through here and see what happens.
Is this fun or
It hit,
what?
as
Did
soon
you
as
get
it hit
it?
the bottom, it hit.
Good man. This is awesome. And that sounds like it's moving some water. Wonder,
That's a largemouth with the same size.
good fish.
As soon as that lure hit the water, it hit it.
This is fun, eh? This is that Rapala, new long cast minnow.
We'll sure have sharp hooks, but you don't lose any fish on them.
Especially these new ones, the VMCs, very sharp.
Well, I'll put this nice big one back in the bay. Nice spawning size.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, I'm just going to explain to you these 2 lures. And if you listen to one, if you pick it up in a store, you can actually hear the weight shift. Can you hear it from there, Terry? There's a weight shifting inside.
Like a ball bearing in there, I hear.
Yeah, so when you cast, because of the centrifugal force, the weight goes to the back. So it makes sense that it's going to cast a lot farther. But it is neutral buoyancy, and when it hits the water a lot of times, you'll see that the head sticks up. I'm purposely holding it so that the weight is in the back. You'll see that the lure is head up, tail down. When you start retrieving it, the weight, let me just get the line untangled off my rod tip, the weight actually shifts to the center, and then it swims like a normal Rapala. I'll just show you one more time. So it's great for casting in shallow water. This one will dive like the original number 11 Rapala, only to about 3 or 4 feet. Now, if you just pass that jointed shatter up, I'm going to show them because this one's also neutral buoyancy, and it's ideal. We've switched to these smaller crankbaits because we're in water that's less than 3 feet deep, and it's a silt bottom. And I don't know if those largemouth are in there feeding on crayfish or what's in there. This is the jointed shad wrap, and this is probably the fire tiger color. I wanted Terry to use this just in case there's a walleye that goes into that shallow water. Now, both of them have rattles. You can hear the rattles. This one casts well too. Now look at this action. You'll see how it's a real snaky side-to-side action. I'll show you again. Really nice action. When I stop it, it stays at the depth that it's running at. So even though we're fishing in 3 feet of water, this lure will dive down to about 7 feet. But what Terry's doing is he's actually holding his rod tip up. I don't think you had much of a chance there. That fish just grabbed it.
It wasn't in the water for more than 2 or 3 seconds, and the bass just slammed right onto it.
Well, when I was fighting that, I saw 2 or 3 scooting around it. So there's definitely a school up there.
And they're feeding, which is a good sign. Let's get back in the water and get some
And
more.
they're feeding on Rapalas. That's funny. Okay, let me get up there. I'm going to put the motor on high, so we won't even cast yet. I want to be able to see the bottom, because that's definitely a pattern in there. And they like this bright color. I went to the chartreuse bottom as well. Amazing. It's a bass, just off the
Little
weeds.
largemouth.
Yeah. You know, I like it when you can fish in the middle of the day, even if it's hot out, and it's nice weather. We did have a wind that blew up earlier, but it settled down. You can see that this largemouth took me into the weeds right after he hit. Now I've got an interesting thing here. How do I hold him? Because he's got hooks on both sides of his mouth. One there, and one over here. I think I did the right thing. And this guy's got a, see the spot? There, he's got a black spot there.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat, eh? Yeah. Maybe it's a
Birthmark.
birthmark, exactly. There he goes.
He got you. Might have cooled you down today.
That water is nice and warm. You know, one thing that we were talking about earlier for down here in the Bay of Quinte, you don't get a lot of activity. Opening day, there might be 1,000 boats on the water here because everybody's itching to go walleye fishing. But during the summer months, like July and August especially, this is quite normal. You'll get some boaters coming through, like the bigger boats, especially on the weekend, because they're moving from one place to another. But it's wonderful because it's quiet. There's lots of fish to be caught. And if you were to use live bait, like minnows or worms, you would probably get a bite every time you lower your bait down. You'd get a lot of small game fish and bigger panfish. But we're trying to target, you know, some of the larger game fish, like bass over a pound and walleye over a pound. So we're using the artificials. And we're trying to cover a lot of water around these weed beds. So the bait fishermen will usually be fishing out deeper in water that's about 10 to 15 feet deep away from the weeds, because you'd have a hard time fishing your bait where we're throwing these crankbaits. Boy, these bass are active all day. You know, one nice thing about these boats that are laid out for fishing, like this 20-foot Misty River, you can walk right down the sides on the elevated floor, which is kind of handy. And this particular one, as you'll notice, doesn't have carpeting. So it's a little bit easier to maintain it. This guy's about 2 pounds.
Yeah, it's a
Chunky
nice size
fish.
largemouth.
Now, you know that my lure was caught up on the surface, and that guy came up and nailed it.
Yeah, it looked like you were shaking it off, and it came up and whacked it.
That's so you can use the tail dancer as a surface lure, because sometimes the line will get caught around the front, one of the hooks on the treble, and it'll spin on the surface, and that's when this largemouth came up. So I'm sure if we had some topwater baits, which we weren't planning on doing today, you could get these largemouth to take it. So I'm going to put this guy back, and there he goes. And you can see the ideal layout here. This boat was actually ordered from Misty River to be like this in this configuration. So it has a raised casting platform at the back, but it's not very wide. It's only about, I'd say, 24 inches wide. And this is where the main compartments are, and they're actually empty. There's only one battery back here. The live well is right on this side, and it's quite a large live well. For the fish, you can even put pike and muskie if you're in a competitive tournament. And then you can see that this vinyl finish, nothing sticks to it, which is kind of nice. And if you did, let's say you're using worms for bait and you spilt your worm container, when you get home, you just hose it down and clean it. So even though it's not as plush as the carpet, the last one that I had was all nice green carpeting even down here, it looks good and it's very easy to keep clean. And you can see it's got lots of room. You know, we could set up a little putting green here. You could make like
spend the afternoon.
8, 9 foot putts when the fishing's slow. That's what we should do. Take a putter out here.
Yeah, it's clear enough. You can see your golf balls if you hit it in the water.
No, you don't want to do that. You want to keep them in the boat. Now this is neat. If this is a walleye, Terry, this goes against all the rules.
Okay.
It's 10:13, bright skies, bright sun. So guess
I
what?
see it.
It's a walleye.
Yeah.
Can you believe this middle of the day on crankbaits? These fish in the bay can be very active. Okay, Terry, if you can scoop them up. We're using a Lucky Strike rubber net, which is ideal because
That's a nice size walleye.
the fish can shake and rattle inside the net, and it's not going to get the hooks hooked in the material because they are rubber. Yeah. I'm going to measure this because there is a slot size here in the Bay of Quinte. Not that we're keeping any fish today. Do you like this custom job I did on our fish ruler?
Looks like you spent hours and hours working on that.
Hours and hours, yeah. This fish is 17.5 inches or 45 centimeters long. And I believe that's inside the slot. That means that it has to be released. We're releasing them anyway. But look at how healthy this walleye is. Can you see that nice gold color? Man, walleye in the middle of the day. Okay, Terry, I got a question for you. Do you have your operator card yet?
No, I don't. How do I get one?
Well, it's two ways. You can take a class, like in an actual room, or you can study on the internet. We work with the Power and Sail Squadron, which is very good.
They've been around forever.
A long time. So I've got a question for you. I'm going to do some hand actions. I know you're not expecting this, okay? What am I? I'm not a bird.
Are you not a heron coming in?
No.
Are you landing airplanes?
No.
I have no idea what you are.
Okay. I am a boater in distress.
Okay.
So just so you know, when you see somebody doing that and you go, have a nice day, that means I got a problem. So believe it or not, this is official.
Okay.
Waving your makes sense, right? Like it means help, right?
It's something everybody gets into once in a while.
When you do take your test, that could be one of the questions. So actually, everyone by this fall is going to have to be licensed for operating smaller boats. So everybody's going to have to do the test that likes to
fish.
fish
Go on the
a
internet
boat.
and CanadianSportsFishing.com and give it a try.
You can check there, or you can go right to the Power and Sail Squadron, and it's there as well. So, plus, once you get it, it's good for life. You know, I'm going to celebrate since I got that fish. I'm going to have a fruit. Would you like a nectarine, Terry?
Canadian Sport Fishing has been brought to you in part by Ford Trucks, built Ford tough. Lucky Strike, producers of quality fishing tackle and landing nets since 1929. Rapala, premium fishing gear, crafted from experience. Canadian Power and Sail Squadrons, volunteers teaching safe boating.